I wonder how he'll die today. Today, a friend told me that it really isn't normal to imagine dying. She can't be right, though. It's pretty standard, yeah? I mean, doesn't everyone imagine dying? I know I always have. I just wish I wouldn't imagine them quite so horrifically. She also told me that whenever she imagines anything, then she never gets the feelings. She must be a weird one. Imaginations come with sensations, don't they? I always feel it, and I really hate the pain. We started talking because she came across my death journal. I started keeping track of all the ways I had imagined dying. It interests me for a weird reason, the fear and dread of the incident. I think I might be obsessed with it. Monday morning, I was heading up the stairs to hand in some paperwork when someone called my name from the bottom. I turned awkwardly. I felt a sinking feeling as I realized I hadn't put my foot down on the stair. I gasped desperately as if that was going to help me. I tried to rebalance myself and smacked my wrist on the wooden baluster. It cracked a little. A sharp, stinging pain that made me scream out loud. I remember my back hitting the metal step edging. It was a sharp pain, but nothing compared to when my face smashed into the support pole. A few teeth cracked. I could feel it along the bone of my jaw. The pain resonated through my gums and the sound just echoed in my head. I could taste blood and feel the gritty pieces of them on my tongue. My whole face felt like it had been torn open and my cheek burned, but I couldn't right myself. It was only seconds later that I felt the cold of the tile against my head. I connected with the newly refurbished flooring with a loud crack that resonated in the alcove. Thankfully, I didn't feel that. Callie! I opened my eyes and was standing with my foot on the first step. As I turned to respond to our receptionist who had called my name, I rubbed the side of my face with my free hand. It was an attempt to rid myself of the feeling of broken teeth and searing pain. Heads up to anyone planning on throwing themselves down the stairs. If done wrong, it can be extremely painful and possibly fatal. I'm lucky that I always snap out of it before I die. Apparently, the receptionist had asked me to take up a letter for the boss on my way. As I was ascending, a coworker ran down the stairs past me, and I steadied myself on the rail. One thing I didn't need was to fall for real this time. She yelled something at the receptionist before leaving the office, keys in hand and a bag over her shoulder. Tuesday, I forgot my lunch. This meant that as lunchtime rolled around, I began my walk to the shops. They weren't far, 15 minutes max. The main road was a little busy. Cars drove past at regular intervals. One even splashed me when I drove through a puddle. As most 25-year-olds do, I swiped through my news feed. Usually speeds up the walk a little bit. The bicycle bell rang from behind me, so I stepped to the right a little closer to the road. The cyclist sped past me, and my coat did that thing in the movies when something fast whooshes past. There was a rail bridge I had to walk under to get to the shops. These things always freak me out a little. I'm always worried that someone will be hiding around one of the pillars or something's going to shake loose as a train goes over. There was a sudden beeping from behind me. Tires screeching, and out of instinct I turned to look. I tried to dive away from the car that was speeding towards me. The driver was slumped at the wheel. The first impact was the car smashing into me. The shock kept me from feeling that. But the second, when I became pinned against the wall, an unbearable pain shot up my spine. My front felt like someone had taken to it with a branding iron. Blood spilled out of my mouth, and I coughed to keep it out of my lungs. I was drowning. People were rushing around the street, and I could hear a woman screaming somewhere off in the distance. It all happened in a few seconds. Bang! The door to the lunchroom opened to the left of me. I realized that I had stopped mid-mouthful of tuck-shop fried rice. I suddenly lost my appetite and the saliva in my mouth felt strange, so I put my fork down, covered the takeaway container, and just went back to my desk. I rubbed my abdomen and sat down. Suffocating on your own blood was not a pleasant experience. Just thinking about it made me need to cough. Through the window, I noticed an ambulance drive past. In our location, we saw at least one every 2 days or so. Well, it was either them or the fire trucks. Last night it was while I was driving. Not out of the ordinary at all. What has more risk than driving? There are plenty of ways to die in a car accident, too. I love singing along with the music in the car. It was turned right up. I was doing a little dance behind the wheel. I drive this route home every day. A glare from the headlights in my mirror caused me to look up. I drive a tiny car, so the headlights of other vehicles are at perfect eye height. I turned to look back at the road. I was passing an entering U-turn lane. It was at my front quarter, but something seemed off about the truck that was using it. It wasn't slowing down. I felt my heart skip a beat, and then I'm pretty sure it stopped as I took a breath in. I didn't even have any time to swerve into the lane next to me. The truck plowed into my driver's side door. Pain flowered in my side, shattered ribs more than likely. My little car spun, probably into the lane next to it. I can't really say I was concentrating on where it was going. The whole time it was so loud, the screeching of metal and horns. I was probably screaming too. My airbag had deployed and promptly broken my arm that was shielding my face. The same sharp snapping pain vibrated up my arm. We hit something else and my stomach dropped, like when you go up in the Viking ship theme park rides. I realized the car was flipping when I was jerked sideways. The top half of me moved, but my legs were pinned by the metal of the door. I hadn't even noticed how much they hurt. A pulsing pressure of pain, and they were wet and sticky. My head connected with something, and my neck filled with the white-hot pain of pulling a tendon. I remember blinking a few times as we slowed to a stop, trying to see something. Anything. My breathing had sped up. I was having a panic attack. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. My arms were limply hanging. I didn't have any control over them. My breathing was ragged and it felt wet. My throat was definitely tightening as the panic attack continued. I could feel the pressure behind my eyes. Tears for what I knew were about to happen. I couldn't keep them open though. They felt heavy and something thick was trickling off my eyelashes. I closed them. Beep. I think I jumped a little in my seat. The light had gone green in front of me. I shook my head and took my foot off the brake. The car behind swerved around me, angrily flipping me the bird for holding them up. There was a time that driving after imagining my death rattled me, but not anymore. The U-turn in my daydream was up ahead over the hill. I passed it 1,000,000 times, and I'd pass it again this night like all the others. We drew closer to the crest of the hill. Brake lights lit up. It's pretty much standard Melbourne traffic. There were sirens coming from behind us, and we couldn't move anywhere, so they drove into the emergency lane to get around us. I lost sight of them as they descended over the hill. We were moving again, slowly, and a police officer was diverting the traffic. Curiosity got the better of me, and I glanced out my side window as we passed. A white sheet-covered body. A car was on its side with the driver's side door torn off. A truck sat a little ways away from it, the end still sitting in the U-turn lane and the front smashed beyond repair. My blood turned cold. Flashes of my rib shattering and the screeching of metal against the road lasted until I was in the next street. When I got home, I was hit with another flash, this time of my face as it smashed against the stairs and my teeth breaking. I thought of the time I was burnt alive, my skin bubbling and blistering, the heat suffocating me, or the time I was crushed by the falling tree during the storms. I've been swept away by floodwaters, beaten and mugged, experienced a train crash. Thankfully, it's just my crazy imagination, right? I wonder how I'll die today.